everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. This is your tip of the week. I occasionally, actually more than occasionally, get questions on needles and thread. What needle, what thread should I use? It's a very difficult question to answer because all thread companies have their own needle requirements. So sometimes it's a little difficult. So I'm going to show you some charts that you could download yourself to your computer, and you can put it away and save it and always refer to it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a needle chart. And this needle chart is from a company called Schmetz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's a German company. And these needles you can get almost everywhere. Now, I'm not saying you buy these needles, it's just what's accessible to me. So in their website is a chart, a color code chart. And this is what's important. This is what you need to look at. So the needle type, in other words, is it a needle type for stretch fabric, quilting fabric, leather, or whatever? So here's the type. So when you look at your needle sets, especially if you're buying a little box where it's got all variety of needles in it, that's what this is. And there is a color code connected to it, so stretch. So if you go and look at the needle, it's got a yellow band on it because the stretch has yellow with it. The next little band below it represents the needle size. So you go over here and you look for that color. And it's saying 7511 on the needle size. So you just keep going down this. So if you're using a different needle brand, then go to that needle website and look for their color code chart. Now, as far as threads, I'm going to show you another little chart. And down here, this says threads and needles commonly used together. Now, I found this on a website, and that it was called sewingiscool.com. And there will be a link below to take you directly to this, and also a link below to take you to the Schmetz needle chart. So this tells you, in fact, there was a lot of information to explain what's in your threads, how many little strands is in the thread, everything. So they're saying that a polyester sew-all thread takes a 79 to 90 size needle, and then a top stitching thread, a silk thread, a cotton thread, and it goes down the list and it tells you the recommended needle size. So remember, not all threads companies are maybe going to meet exactly the same requirements. Now, one of the things that I want to show you is a little clip that I had in a video from a long time ago, but the one thing I liked about this little clip was it explained how the thread flows through the needle. And Teresa of the Sewing and Quilting Center of Southern Utah was nice enough to meet with me, and she explained a lot. She also explained a lot about mechanical sewing machines and computerized sewing machines and the differences in the way the machine is set up and how they function. So I'm going to have a link to that video. So if you're thinking about upgrading from a mechanical sewing machine to a computerized sewing machine, it'll show you what the advantages are, and that link will be below your YouTube screen. But right now, let's go and take a look at how that thread flows through the needle. Teresa, one of the questions that I get asked quite often is about needles and threads. So if someone was to come in get interested in buying a sewing machine, what do they need to purchase to get started as far as thread and needles go?
Okay, so threads come a long ways in the last 10, 15 years. I was not a thread snob when I started sewing. In the last 5 years, I have become a thread snob, and I buy nice thread because it's better. It's higher quality. It sews nicer, and it fits your needles.
And by the way, I've fallen into that trap too. You buy the little cheap stuff off the rack in a big bin, and it doesn't hold up. It breaks constantly. So
Yes.
you're better off buying something that's a little bit more expensive because you're going to get better results.
Yes. However, there is a good needle that you can use with your cheaper thread, and you will not have any problems either. So when in doubt, you want to use a 9014. These happen to be superior, but you could use your Schmidt 9014 needles. That's not the top bit. The reason being is it's very simple. In high school, they forgot to tell us a step. They always said, when you get heavier fabric, change your needle. However, thread is used for a certain purpose. We might be using it to put our clothes together. We might be doing it for decorative stitching. We can use all kinds of thread on our sewing machine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a computerized or a mechanical machine. We can use all the threads, even the cheap threads we can use. The reason what they forgot to tell us is about our needle.
This is a giant needle, everybody.
A giant needle. Hopefully you can see this groove that's right here in the front. And this represents our thread. And the needle has to be big enough groove that the thread fits inside there so that it's...
So everyone, that groove, when you're looking at your needle, when you're sitting in front of your machine, this groove is in the very front. Is that correct?
It is.
Yes. So the thread's coming down the front of that needle.
For most machines, if you have a really, really old machine, it might be turned to the side or to the back. So, but for new machines, it's always in the front. So it's really important that that thread fits in the groove. If you think, I'm very simplistic, and if you think of this needle as a train, it's driving through the tunnel, which is the hole that the needle's making. If that thread is in the groove flat, then it goes right through that hole, and it just has the clearing it needs, and we don't have any problem. However, if that thread is too fat and it won't fit in that groove, it's riding on top of the train, and we all know what happens if you have something on top of the train when it goes through a tunnel. It gets knocked off, and this causes all kinds of problems when we're stitching because it buckles and it's riding on top of the hole and it can't fit through the hole. So with thread companies, all thread companies will have a chart, and it will tell you the weight of their thread and what recommended needle should go with it. When in doubt, use a 9014 for your Cloaks and Clark and your Gutermann and your other least expensive threads. They're a little bit inconsistent or heavier weight, and so they will not fit into that groove, and that's usually why people are having problems. Is their needle they're using a size 80-12, and that thread doesn't fit inside there, and it's way too large for the groove, and then you have issues and breakage and ugly stitching.
So you would recommend, let's say, if someone was using a particular brand, go on that thread company's website and look at the chart that it recommends for needle and thread.
They have so much information on the web. We're so lucky nowadays to be able to just Google and look it up, and they'll tell you what weight and then what size needle they recommend for that stitch.
I don't know if you remember this, but this was another sewing tip of the week, and it was in episode number 10, and the link is below your YouTube screen to get to that. And the reason why I'm showing it is after you have downloaded those charts or copied them, however you're going to do it, go and get your stitching notebook out and put it right in there. I put it right at the front of mine so that I can quickly refer to it. So on one side, I've got the needle chart, and on the other side is the chart explaining the threads. And if this is the first time you've seen this book, I show you how to set up a book to keep track of the different types of stitching, what you need to do to set your machine up, and what it does. So there's all of this great information that you can store in this notebook. I keep mine right behind my sewing machine. It's behind, whenever you're watching me in a video and I'm sitting down at my machine, it's sitting right behind me near the bottom rack so that I can quickly grab it whenever I'm sewing if I need to look something up, if I've forgotten how to do something. I don't have everything memorized. As I've gotten older, it's been a little harder to remember every little single thing. Well, I hope that this tip of the week has helped you take some of the mystery out of needles and thread. Things change constantly. Again, I want to stress, there is no industry standard. So you just need to try it. Sometimes it's just a hit or miss. Well, if you're interested in other tips of the week that I've had in the past, there'll be a link to my playlist showing you all of those tips of the week. If you're interested in beginner sewing projects, also, I'll have some of those listed below your YouTube screen. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to go and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell so you can receive notifications about my latest videos. I'm Cheryl, and this is Scotty, and this is Manny. See you next time, and happy sewing!